All right. We're here on another episode of Reasonably Hyped. This time, Resident Evil 4 VR is out today, so I figure we'll start off with that. But let me introduce myself, Carlos Macias. I'm the host of this fine program. Please to click like and subscribe. To help us out. We have a whole dozen amounts of subscribers on there, and as per usual, I have Deo Blas. Thank you for coming back on the show, sir.
How you doing, Carlos? Thanks for having me again.
Real quick, I did hit you up last time that your team had lost, but congratulations that the Warriors are back. Apparently, it's the end of the world. Warriors win one game, and now the Warriors are back without Klay Thompson. They got an identity, They got an identity, so But congratulations, all right. I think I listened to it a little bit. It's like, it'll be a next season. It's like apparently it was only a few days because the Bay is back on top. But
I'll take it. Right now, I'll take it, man.
Hey, congratulations, all right. So today, Resident Evil 4 VR for Oculus Quest 2 just dropped. But yesterday, we were kind of having some news that there were some changes to it. I have a quote on here that says, quote, Oculus Studios, Armature, and Capcom partnered closely to remaster Resident Evil 4 from the ground up for VR. This includes immersive environments and high resolution graphics. It also includes select changes to in-game dialogue and animations that we believe will update Resident Evil 4 for a modern audience. And some of the little details are that some of the dialogue was changed, which Capcom was directly involved with that. And one of the bigger things was that they actually reduced the quote-unquote sexualization of the character of Ashley, which was, quick little detail, the president's underage daughter. So I'm kind of like, what was I playing in 2004? It's a different world now, but yes, it's fair that they kind of updated it. From what you've heard, what do you think about these changes to this kind of seminal classic, so to speak?
I think it's appropriate enough, especially for a VR game. I thought they didn't do like a whole remaster. I thought it was going to be like a whole kind of change up since it's a VR game.
Yeah, it's a little tricky that they say that because it looks kind of about the same as the last time whenever they re-released it, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So it seems more appropriate, especially with some of the. I remember back playing Resident Evil 4, like there are times when like you'd have to escort Ashley and she'd like walk up a ladder or something like that, and like guys would we were all younger at the time, but like guys would try to like look up her skirt and whatnot, and like we were being just boys trying to be like like trying to giggle about it. But nowadays I think it's more appropriate, especially since it's in VR. It's much easier to pull something off like that just for the character.
They did that is one of the changes, right? That you can't no longer do that, but up the skirt type of thing, which to be honest, I don't know if they necessarily explicitly did. The developers, I don't think it was like they definitely didn't advertise it, but they definitely they knew that it was possible, right? They created these models.
They know, they knew people were trying to exploit something like that, and so if they make this little change, I don't think that's a big deal. It also doesn't like prevent people from, if you really want to, like you could go buy the older games and then do it to yourself. If you want to go do it, to go ahead, all means, go perv out if you really want to. But for this issue, I don't think this is that big of an issue. About
to kind of update. I mean, you do get into. I know there's people in conversations that they'll try to make the case that it's like, well, no, I want to respect the original intent. And it's like, what? Some of these are like happy accidents, or if not happy accidents, but they just happen to come about that way. And sometimes they're working with Capcom, so if Capcom had a problem with it, they'd be like, no, this is the original intent to be able to do an upskirt shot or whatever it is, or to keep the dialogue exactly as it is. Which sometimes I do feel for that. I feel like sometimes we can go back and consider the original like source material and be like, well, it's of the time, right? But I mean, look, you're bringing it into a new era. It's in VR. It's supposed to be kind of a big like release alongside a Quest 2. But Quest 2 though has been out for a while now, right? You would have thought that, I don't know, you would have thought that maybe Facebook, I think it's Facebook who handles Oculus now, right? They own Oculus, I would think they'd be like, let's get you guys the resources for day one Oculus 2, like it Resident Evil 4 VR and Oculus 2 kind of same day and date type of thing. So it is kind of a showcase. I think a lot of people will play it. I mean, this is like 20th version of this game. Now, the thing that would have convinced me, and you mentioned it earlier, was if they had done like from the they said from the ground up for VR, which is, I mean, they kind of made it accessible to VR, I would say, because they're kind of being a little shifty with the wording there, because it's definitely not like a Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3 remake, where those are
remake,
incredible,
no.
or 7
Right.
remake type of thing.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
like, yeah. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. I talked enough for now. For now.
No, I think, yeah. I mean, if you really want this version, like, especially to show off like your Oculus, like this is a good, showpiece to show off an Oculus game. I'm surprised that Oculus doesn't have like a killer app to sell the system, and this would be like the first.
This would be,
kind of
I
game
think,
to
with
do
the
it.
original, would be probably Beat Saber, because it's like, that's like what made
Right,
that
yeah,
game.
that's
Like
true, yeah.
I have Beat Saber for PSVR, and you know how much I love. I don't know if you know, but I love trophies. So you would think that'd be the version I want to play, but the technological limitations of the PSVR, and I like the PSVR. But I play that thing on. I try to beat my daughter's scores. I don't know if you've heard it on Salient Points, but I try to beat my daughter's scores all the time on Beat Saber, and it's because it's so convenient. You really just put that thing on. It's wireless, and you can kind of 360 around and all that stuff. I feel like that was a killer app for one. For Oculus Quest 2 should have been this. I think Facebook
Right.
should have been like, let's get you the resources, because you're not
Right.
making Resident Evil 2 or 3
Like,
remake.
like I've seen people shoehorn was it Half-Life Alex into
Mhm.
the Oculus
Yeah.
through like a different kind of means, but they don't. It's not like an officially supported app for
Mhm.
it. So I could see why that, like, if someone was trying to censor this game,
Mhm.
that they would try to go the extra mile and try to uh modernize
Yeah.
what Resident Evil for today's standards.
Yeah.
So it makes sense a little bit for that. So
And I
this is
think
gonna be
it's
a
the
big seller
And
for
I
them.
think it's not necessarily full price, so I guess we can kind of give them credit for that. They're not going full Nintendo pricing on it. But you mentioned the Alex. I actually bought. I believe I bought an Alex, or not Alex. I did buy Alex as well, Half-Life Alex, and the Quest, along with the cable, the $80 cable to plug it into a
Yeah.
PC. So that's actually one of the impetus to, like, I'm gonna grab a Quest and plug it into a PC. And I played Alex. I didn't have a powerful PC at the time, so I was actually going to my brother's house. Like, I spent like 2 weekends. Like, I'm like, I'm gonna be there for 3-4 hours. I don't care if you're asleep. I'm gonna plug into your PC, and I played it through that way. But I definitely think, yeah, this maybe that's what it is, right? Like, to them, it's like, you know what, there's gonna be some controversy. We talked a little bit off air, but they're canceling Chappelle out here, so this is just kind of a way to you know what, this is gonna be for a big audience. This is kind of like, I think there's gonna be a big push, right? I'm sure this holiday season,
definitely.
where get Resident Evil 4 VR and Oculus Quest 2. So obviously they don't want like little kids like looking up Ashley's dress or whatever, an underage character in their game. So
Yeah.
I think in that aspect it's fine. But like, as far as lines and dialogues, how do you feel about that? Is that fair play too, I suppose, to modernize even the dialogue and all that?
It doesn't really impact a lot of the gameplay from what I've seen, whatever dialogue choices that was said initially in the game. So it's not that big of a deal. If they were so bold to go on and change like an actual script and like have major differences in the plot and the story and the gameplay or whatever, then yeah, I'd have a big beef with it, but I really don't. Again, it goes back to the fact that they're trying to modernize the script for a 2021 kind of audience instead of the 2004, like the wild 2000s.
Yeah, the
bro,
Wild
bro
2004.
culture that we used to
Yeah.
have back in the day
Yeah.
when these games were like the most popular, which is ironic because the game released on the GameCube of all systems.
It's funny
your
because it
title.
was so influential, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's so influential to a lot of stuff that people don't even realize now. Like, especially the third person shooting aspect of it, where Gears of War came out of Resident Evil 4. Like, and the fact that
Yes,
they changed the
exactly.
gameplay completely from tank controls, like, now it's free. It's free. It's not completely like you walk and shoot, but it's you stand and shoot, which they weren't doing that before. And then Gears of War came in with the roadie run and all this other stuff. So it's influential, but at this point, it's kind of like long in the tooth. I feel like from what I understand, they do make it possible to strafe and shoot now, at least. But it's also like missing features. I didn't pull up a quote on it, but there's also like, apparently it's missing some features as well, like mercenaries mode. And I think maybe that's just a matter of the technology, right? That it's VR, and it's like we don't really want people to get too crazy with it, right? So
Yeah, with all like the 180 turns and like trying to throw like grenades
yeah,
constantly and trying to get in and out of houses at a fast pace. Like
you know
that'll make me
what?
sick.
You know what? I'm thinking about it now, man. Like now that you said that, it's like you could turn around and throw grenades. Oh, damn! Maybe I do want this game after all. But yeah, anyways, that's out. That's out today. So you guys, if you guys have an Oculus Quest 2, it's exclusive to that. So I have the original Quest, so it's not playable on my thing, unfortunately. But it's exclusive on Oculus Quest 2, and I think maybe we're on agreement, I suppose, right? That it's okay to kind of give them this modern touches. You had mentioned about the story. At least one thing would be the modern touches, like the cell phones look a certain way. I don't know if they did that necessarily, but they'll sometimes in movies or maybe like video games. I think was it ET where they replaced the walkie talkies with something else, or the guns with walkie talkies,
Guns with walkie
or
talkies.
something like that. So
Yeah.
you can kind of feel like it's kind of a bastardization of the original vision, but I feel like in this case, Capcom working closely with them is like, look, Capcom kind of sanctioned this and they were involved with this. So you guys please to enjoy that. It's out today. And yeah, thank you for joining me for this episode, Deo.